Why should Star Wars get to stomp around like a giant while the rest of us try not to get smushed under his big feet? And what's so great about Star Wars, Mean Girls is just as cute as Star Wars, okay? Mean Girls is just as smart as Star Wars. And people totally like Mean Girls just as much as they like Star Wars. And when did it become okay for one movie to be the boss of everybody, Because that is not what Rome is about. We should totally just stab Star Wars! Mean Girls did not leave the South Side for this. There's no way to do justice to this movie. It's based on a 2002 self-help book called Queen Bees and Wannabes that illuminates patterns of teen girl aggression, clique formation, and things like that. And adapted for the screen as a comedy, it renders such a true and funny high school experience. This has got to be the most quotable movie on the bracket. She doesn't even go here! I have really bad breath in the morning. It's like seeing a dog walk on its hind legs. You voted out Mean Girls. I ought to cancel your spring fling. But I'm not going to do that because we've already paid the DJ. Star Wars took 70% of the vote, and okay, I'm not mad.
Do you like Dags? Dags? Yeah, Dags. Dags. Do you like Dags? Oh, dogs. Sure, I like dogs. Snatch is a 2000 heist crime film directed by Guy Ritchie that revolves around an 86-carat diamond pursued by a host of colorful characters in the criminal underworld of London. London? Yes, London. You know, fish, chips, cup of tea, bad food, worse weather. It was very popular among my friends during college. Just a note that if you're squeamish about violence or a steady stream of profanity that makes even my cousin Vinny blush, I would strongly advise that you avoid this film. Snatch garnered 30% of the vote, and just like hapless, bare-knuckle boxer Gorgeous George, was taken down by a single, devastating punch. Feed him to the pigs, Errol.
Let me ask you something. Do you have safe deposit boxes here? Why is Ocean's 12 in this tournament? Look, it's not in my nature to be mysterious, but I can't talk about it, and I can't talk about why. It sort of takes Ocean's 11 and turns it up to 12, as it were. The music's great. It's more stylish and funnier than Ocean's 11. Some of my favorite scenes in the Ocean films are in 12. The Lost in Translation scene, the Bruce Willis scene. I just wanted to get you for a second. We're looking to come off this baby thing strong. You know, that little statue on the mantle starts smirking at you after a while, you know what I'm saying? Not really, Glenn. No. In both films, what's going on is not really what's going on. It's a show. You will have to put on a very elaborate show. Now, I'll admit that the ending didn't work as well as it should have. I can't really rebuff the argument that there's a few elements of Deus Ex Machina to the ending. Fight Club is the clear winner here with 78% of the vote. Ocean's 12, not only did you lose, but your whole entire crew got pinched.
Michael, we don't have a lot of time on this earth. We weren't meant to spend it this way. Human beings were not meant to sit in little cubicles staring at computer screens all day, filling out useless forms and listening to 8 different bosses drone on about mission statements. During my freshman year of college, Mike Judge's 1991 cult classic Office Space was the most popular and rewatched movie in my dorm. Here's one of the really impressive things about this film. Most college freshmen know nothing of the soul-crushing despair inflicted by companies like the fictitious Inintech. And yet, it's as funny to the uninitiated as it is to those of us who have met our Bill Lumbergh and come to the wrenching realization that every single day of my life has been worse than the day before it. Though this film was a thud at the box office, it eventually gained immense and deserved popularity. It's one of the most eminently quotable movies you could hope to find. What would you say you do here? Peter, what's happening?
Hey, Peter, man!
In its surprising use of gangster rap during some of the film's most memorable montages are comic masterstrokes. I would have loved for Office Space to grace the second round of the tournament, but it suffered the lousy luck of an absolute brutal matchup against Princess Bride, who is one of my dark horse Final Four contenders.
When we were little kids, my brothers and I loved the Ninja Turtles. And for me, what typifies the Turtles is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the The Secret of the Ooze. Well, April, I guess the lives of two people don't amount to a hill of beans in this world. That's why you're getting on that plane. The movie somewhat puts Raphael in the spotlight, which I think is a great choice because he's a really interesting character. I mean, I know he's a Ninja Turtle, but he's also an interesting character. It wasn't slime. It was ooze. Yeah, a little too Raph. The conflict between the turtles is really believable because their personalities are rendered so well. They foil each other in novel and hilarious ways. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention the cameo of Vanilla Ice. You know, I hear the sewers in Connecticut are really nice. The turtles were shell-shocked by Pulp Fiction, which pulled down 2/3 of the vote. Dream on, Ninja Turtles, but when you do, dream of something a little thinner.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is a criminally underappreciated comedy from 1988 starring Michael Caine, Steve Martin, and Glenn Headley. Caine plays Lawrence Jameson, a polished professional con artist who specializes in duping corrupt wealthy women. Martin plays brash American Freddie Benson, who is visiting the French Riviera. This is one of my go-to films when things aren't going very well in my life. In fact, it was introduced to me by my uncle, who boasted that the film rescued one of our closest family friends following a bad breakup. One of the best and most memorable sequences of the film involves Jameson's use of Benson as his mentally challenged younger brother Ruprecht to scare off the wealthy women he proposed to in order to gain their trust and fleece them. You've been begging on your pots again, haven't you? I won't spoil it, but this film contains a terrific, ironic, and satisfying twist at the very end. To me, this film has aged rather well and is very rewatchable. Do yourself a favor if you've never had the pleasure. There's no shame in losing to one of the bracket's finest films in Good Will Hunting.
Best in Show is a comedy from the year 2000, written, directed by, and starring Christopher Guest as Harlan Pepper, and a huge ensemble of hilarious characters. I used to be able to name every nut that there was, and that used to drive my mother crazy. I'm not an animal person, and I've never understood why the Super Bowl of animal shows follows the Macy's Thanksgiving parade every year. And a movie that lampoons that whole situation is Chef's Kiss. Macadamia nut. And as much as it makes fun of pet people, I think it also honors them. Tarantino's Inglorious Basterds takes the match 70 to 30%. Pistachio nut. Red pistachio nut.
Are you watching closely? Christopher Nolan's 2006 psychological thriller, The Prestige, is an absolute masterpiece that apparently most of you either haven't seen or you have seen and still spurned in favor of a teen comedy. It's the Heath Ledger factor, isn't it? The primary themes in The Prestige are obsession, secrecy, and sacrifice. The obsession part is plainly stated and is obvious throughout the film, but the depths of sacrifice and secrecy that the two rival magicians employ in their tragic feud against one another aren't fully realized until the shocking and jarring final act of the film. I also really like the film's epistolary storytelling. Both magicians keep personal diaries that advance the plot and sometimes turn it on its head. Like their stage acts, the diary entries aren't always what they seem. Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale are absolutely fabulous as rival magicians in this film. But I'm starting to think that all of you must really hate Michael Caine, as this is the third of his films to fall by the wayside in the first round.
What is it with men and You've Got Mail? You've Got Mail is the sum of all wisdom. It's the I Ching. You've Got Mail is an adorable 1998 Nora Ephron-directed rom-com starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, the likes of which they just don't make anymore. 152 people that think he looks like Clark Gable. 152 pockmarks on his face. With You Got Mail out and Best in Show out, Parker Posey is out.
Ah, where are my Tic Tacs?
What? You've Got Mail was crushed by Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump pulled 80% of the vote. This one was Hanks versus Hanks. And I mean, I support your choice to vote for Hanks. Go to the mattresses. Don't worry, You've Got Mail. It's not personal. It's business. This place is a tomb. I'm going to the nut shop where it's fun.
The Usual Suspects is a 1995 mystery heist starring Kevin Spacey. This film's strength is the mysterious manner by which it unspools the plot through a series of flashbacks and the inimitable narration from Verbal Kent, played by Kevin Spacey. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. While under police interrogation, Kent invents the plot of the film and its details by using items posted on a crowded bulletin board in the office. The reveal in the interrogating officer's dawning realization of being had was just exquisitely executed. But it's not enough in the end to evade the 14 versus 3 upset to classic 80s film The Karate Kid, which claimed 57% of the vote. And like that, Usual Suspects is gone.
2011's Crazy Stupid Love finds humor in heartache. Look at this cast. Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, Julianne Moore, Marissa Tomei, Kevin Bacon. Wow. Okay, y'all knocked out Marissa Tomei. It's a movie that will make you laugh and cry and maybe grow. Okay, which one of you is David Lindhagen? David Lindhagen, I know. How would I know that? I'm a total stranger. How would I know something so intimate about your life? Return of the Jedi took 70% of the vote, and okay, I guess I'm not mad about that.
I'll let you in on a little secret, Ray. Kmart sucks, okay? Rain Man is a 1988 drama starring Tom Cruise, who plays a wildly unlikable narcissist named Charlie Babbitt, and Dustin Hoffman, who plays the card-counting autistic savant Raymond Babbitt. Much of the film's drama and humor is derived from the dichotomy between these two characters, who embark on an epic road trip with one another. Charlie is self-absorbed and impatient, while Raymond uncompromisingly adheres to strict routines that bewilder and frustrate Charlie. Charlie's discovery of Raymond's gift with numbers and recall leads to an iconic montage, one that has inspired popular homages such as 2009's The Hangover, during which the two leverage Raymond's ability to count cards to win $86,000 at the blackjack tables. Rain Man received 43% of the vote and fell to Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
$1 million isn't cool. You know what's cool? The Social Network, 2010, directed by David Fincher. It's been called the greatest movie of the 2010s. I mean, just take a look at the way that social media has transformed so many aspects of our society. And this film gives us an origin myth for our present age. The music by Trent Reznor is legendary. The Social Network loses to Dead Poets Society. Dead Poets got 77% of the vote. If you haven't seen The Social Network, it's a tour de force from start to finish, and you should really check it out.
Oliver Stone's JFK is one of the most controversial and compelling artistic renderings of the Kennedy assassination. With an absolutely star-studded cast, JFK presents Lee Harvey Oswald, who is masterfully portrayed by Gary Oldman, as a sympathetic and woefully misrepresented character in American culture, and New Orleans District Attorney Jim Garrison as an intrepid hero who risks personal ruin in his tireless pursuit of the truth. The film was irresistible to my college self because I was completely obsessed with the Kennedy assassination. Specifically, I thought it was very smart just because I believed in the conspiracy. Eventually, though, I heard the following quote that has resonated with my adult self and helped me to understand why I and others latch on to and entertain fantasies and conjectures. The quote is, "People want to believe that things are not random, that things are not that chaotic, because I think it's very difficult for them to accept the idea that someone as inconsequential as Oswald could have killed someone as consequential as Kennedy." End quote. Nothing chaotic or random about the outcome of this matchup, however, as the dangerous and underseeded Sandlot collected 92% of the votes in this round's biggest blowout.
Do you have any movies that you turn to in a hard time? For me, Sam Raimi's 2004 Spider-Man 2 is one of those films. There's something so relatable to me about Peter doing the right thing everywhere he can, but that not making things better for him. The plot to this movie is really well conceived. Look at all the forces of antagonism against our hero. So all these things are related to each other in ironic ways. If one story value goes up, the other story value goes down. If he stops being Spidey, he can pursue Mary Jane. He can't give up being Spider-Man though, because with great power comes great responsibility. If he's not Spider-Man, nobody is, and all this bad stuff happens. It ended up with a paltry 16%, losing to Back to the Future. Look, I knew this movie was going nowhere on the bracket, but it's on there because it's one of my all-time favorites.
Twister is a 1996 film about a group of storm chasers, led by characters played by the late Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt. Cow. It's important to me because I grew up in western Kansas, where tornadoes were something of a mainstay in our existence and the source of my inconsolable anxiety as a child. Twister is one of the first movies I remember seeing in the theater. I saw it for the first time with my childhood best friend, and somehow the viewing experience produced a shift in my attitude of tornadoes from that of fear to awe and wonder. Another cow. While a fun film, Twister garnered a paltry 22% of the vote and failed to survive its encounter with the suck zone. It's the point, basically, at which the Twister sucks you up.